All right, let's talk a little bit about a controversial topic. It doesn't need to be controversial, and it shouldn't really be controversial either. But yet, I find that this topic invokes a lot of emotion in people, and many of them are getting it wrong. Now, the topic is quite simple. You should surround yourself with more yes men in your life. And when I say yes men or a yes man, that doesn't mean someone who doesn't hold you accountable. It doesn't mean somebody who doesn't check you. It doesn't mean somebody who lets you get away with all your shenanigans. It doesn't mean somebody who doesn't hold you to a higher standard. In fact, because that's exactly what the yes men are supposed to do. They are supposed to hold you to a higher standard. Now, I'm talking about the sort of yes men who believe in you and who want to see you win, who are cheering for you. You, you know how there are so many people, most people these days, they don't want to see you win. Now, I guess that depends a little bit where you're living. But even if you're living in the most entrepreneurial, spirit-minded culture, there's always going to be one or two who don't want to see you win, right? And depending on, certainly in my country, the esteemed and unhallowed Kingdom of Norway, there's a lot of people who don't want to see you win. They don't want to see you win. It's the tall poppy syndrome, like the Aussies are calling it. You're supposed to downplay things. You're supposed to not talk about things. We're supposed to be equals, right? We're all supposed to be equals. It's the dumbest crock of shite I've heard ever, really. And how being better than somebody else is bad. That's considered bad. And yeah, there are people who live like that and who think like that. And it manifests itself in the entire culture. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go on a rant about my country because, yeah, there's a lot of things we need to fix about my country. But that serves nothing. That serves nobody. But what serves somebody is if I talk to you about the sort of people that you should be around. Namely, the yes men. The yes men who actually haven't given up. The yes men who want to work hard in spite of everything going against them. Because that's precisely the spirit that you need. You need people like that in your life. Now, if you don't have people like that in your life, then this is controversial. And again, I like to do controversial stuff, or I like to say controversial stuff, but you are better off being alone than hanging out with the wrong people, especially the no people, the time and energy vampires, the Tevs, those who don't want to see you win, those who take joy in seeing you fail, right? The miserable losers. I'd much rather be alone if I had to choose between these miserable wretches who want to see me fail, who don't want to see me win, who second guess and question everything that I do. You know, there's actually, well, I guess there's actually some sort of argument to be made that you should have some time and energy vampires around you in your life so that you can get inspired to work hard. Here's what I mean. I remember it so well. This happened, I don't know, roughly 10 years ago, give or take, maybe more than 10 years ago. I was seated by a dinner table. For the sake of privacy, I'm not going to mention those who were involved, but let's just say that there were people who were close in my life at that time. Let's keep it at that. So I'm seated at the dinner table. I'm talking about something that I discovered at that time, which was FIRE, the FIRE movement, which is a ridiculous movement, by the way. If you don't know what FIRE is, it essentially means saving up money so that you can live frugally and live poor for the rest of your life without having to work, which is horrible. It's certainly not something that I want to do. Because, I mean, who wants to live frugally? number one, and prices are going to increase. So why would you save up money and live off of what you got instead of working hard so that you can make more money? Think about it. Now, anyway, where was I going with this? Yeah, so I'm seated at the dinner table. I'm talking about this fire movement, and the fire movement in itself wasn't the main point of the conversation. The main point of the conversation was really, let me just move my chair a little bit. The main point of the conversation was really how I didn't want to work at all, how I wanted to be financially free, how I wanted to run my own workday. I never had to show up for a boss again. And this person says facetiously, sarcastically, and also a bit honestly, like, dude, what are you gonna do when you're not working? Right? And this person completely missed the point. I didn't say, oh, I wasn't gonna work. I said I didn't want to show up for work and having a boss to report to. That was my main goal. But that sort of like didn't click with that person because it didn't make any sense in their mind. And that's fine. You know, it doesn't make sense in my mind how some people can allow themselves to be fat or lazy when nowadays we know what makes you fat and what doesn't make you fat. Same goes for people who choose to be weak. Well, we know what makes you weak. We also know what makes you fat. So why you choose to be fat and weak if you can choose something else? Honestly, sincerely. Anyway, back to the point here. I don't remember exactly what I said or where the conversation went after that. Quite likely I didn't even respond or engage because I didn't find it to be worth my time trying to explain to this person how it's so important to get financially independent so that you can run your own work day. However, it certainly inspired me. And it certainly inspired me to have the right sort of people around me, the right sort of people who actually get it. Yes, this is what we're doing. And you know, if you're in an entrepreneurial space, I don't think you're ever going to run out of work. I don't know any entrepreneurs or any business owners or millionaires who stopped working. If anything, they started working more on other projects. They're working on maybe a new business, a new project, or whatever. Yeah, sure, they may take some time off. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't want to take some time off and party and go wild, right? But you always get back to doing something, and that's my main point here. There's always some sort of pastime that you have. And these are the sort of right people to surround yourself with. The yes men who actually get what you're doing here. Not the ones who say, oh yes, you can stop working today and be lazy. No, that's not the right attitude. No, but oh yes, it's hard, it's tough, but we're gonna grind it out, we're not gonna stop. We're gonna keep on continuing. We're gonna keep continuing, until we make it. Think about this in closing, because this is going on for long enough now. But in closing, think about this. I believe Joe Rogan Experience, that podcast, didn't make any money until 5 years into production. Think about that. And everybody would tell Joe that, oh no, but it's going to listen to long form content. People are going to opt out. People don't have attention spans. They want shorter stuff. Well, Joe Rogan Experience proves the opposite. And the same goes for Sean Ryan Show. Sean Ryan Show is currently the second biggest, I believe, the second biggest podcast on Spotify. And he does long form content as well. So think about that. So, and he's doing it his way. And I'm doing it my way. And Joe Rogan's doing it his way. And that's what makes people attracted to them. That they're doing it their own way. So if you start doing that, doing it your own way, it ain't harder than that. And I'll leave it at that. So find the right sort of yes men to be around, and life is going to be much better for you. And if you can't find them, then you're better off being alone. Seriously, even if it means, yeah, even if it means don't excuse me, I can't even talk. Even if it means don't having any friends, because it's much better to be alone working on your goals rather than being surrounded by dipshits who want to see you fail. Seriously. Now, if you want to learn more about time and energy vampires, and especially the time and energy vampires, mind you, if you want to learn more about time and energy vampires, how to manage them, and how to potentially stay away from them, get subscribed to my email list. The link to do so is below the episode description, wherever you are listening and or are watching to this, and I will see you there.